ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਨਾ ਸਾਰ ਨ ਜਾਨਾ ਤੇਰੀ। ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ। ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। So as a part of this series, you've heard some talks over the last few weeks. Now the difference in this talk and the last few weeks will be that the person we're talking about, what's that noise? Is that me? Huh? How am I doing that? So the person we're talking, right, Teddy? So the person, Teddy, it's me blowing into the mic, I think. Hanji, Vaheguru. So the person we're talking about today, unlike the previous talks, isn't someone that the speaker, as in me, didn't personally know. So the other speakers are talking about figures that they never had a personal interaction with or lived in that same time period of history. Okay, I'll turn that one off. So Baba Thakur saying, some people in the room, thankfully, are older than me or older. Yeah. Went to Sachkhand in 2004. So anyone under the age of 21, if my maths is right, might have also been here but in another life. Yeah. So the talk will be different in the terms of my personal interactions with Babaji, rather than reading from a Jeevani or other people's accounts and trying to make up the account. So it's a personal and a Bantik insight, because it's a personal journey that I had with Babaji, but Bantikally, Babaji was very significant for the Bant. So I met them on their first visit to the UK in December 1997. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I would have been living with Sukhrat Singh at the time at university. Yeah. And so we didn't tell him that Babaji was here. So he was an Amritdhari at the time, but we didn't tell him because it was in Christmas, I remember, Christmas holidays that they came the first time. But anyway, they stayed in Leicester quite a lot on that trip, the first trip. They stayed in Warsaw as well. The first god that they came to was in Warsaw, so Nanak Sarplek. So from that day on, from the first day they landed to the last day, I was there between the dates, let's say. Not every day at all, but between the dates. So what they would do, they would come to the US, Canada and come to the UK, but the route became that they'd come to the UK, stay here, then go to Canada and the US, then come back here, then go back to India. So we'd get 2 trips in one trip in that sense. Sometimes it'd be annually, sometimes it'd be twice a year. So this photo is from 1999. So someone was talking about Stratford Road. So this photo, that Nagar Kirtan in 99 started at Stratford Road and ended at Paddy Bar, the park next to Alexander Stadium. So that's how long the Nagar Kirtan was. So that was the 99 one. So that's Babaji sitting on a float. So the guy on the phone behind, he's one of the Granthis now at Darbar Sahib as well, Buttar. Anyway, I have never stayed in the Taksal. So all the trolls on the internet who try attacking me, thinking I'm so sort of Taksali, saying, "Tu kada Taksal la padaya." Yeah, so I've had them say, and I'm like, bro, I've only stayed one night at Mehta, and that was the night we dropped off Sukhraj Singh. I've never stayed ever again. So Mehta's the headquarters of Taksal, if no one knows. So nearly all my Sangat with Babaji was in the UK, apart from a few days in India, in total over those 7 years. My challenge in this talk is not to make it too personal, and this is the hardest talk I've prepared for these GNG talks ever. Because I have to be very careful how I navigate the talk, because Babaji aboard us talking about their Shaktiyan, their powers or the miracles that happen around them. So we've got a 3-line whip to not talk about that, but I'm going to break that and do some of it, because I can't not do the talk and not do that. But then when the live goes off, we can talk freely. So it's not on recording. So I'm willing to do that off the record, but you better turn your phones off, find out. I'm like the MI5, I will come for you, yeah? But anyway, so the miracles happen naturally around them, because that's what happens with the Mahapurukh. They don't have to try for these things, they just occur. So for me, it's very hard to deliver this talk, to not make it about my story, but rather than a Panthak story. So the Jeevani there that I sort of wrote, that was written in 2011, I think. So there is a book that someone's written, but it doesn't really contain much information on Babaji's life. So that probably does as much a job, and there's another 3 pages that are released in that book. That's why that book's not become very prevalent in the Qawm. It was written about 2 years ago, I think that book was. So Babaji was born in 1915 in a bend called Ichogil in the district of Lahore, which is now in Pakistan. Their father was Baba Bahadur Singh, Mata Prem Kaur's their mother. Both their parents were Amritari, highly disciplined Gursikhs. So our question is, who can give birth to such great souls? So I was looking for a certain Pankti in this Shabd, then I used the whole Shabd, because the whole of the Shabd is relevant to Babaji's life. So the first Pankti, Gursikh har bolo har gavo le gurmat har japane. So this is Babaji. If you look closely, I'm not sure how clear the photo is on there. Reading from a Gotka, and in the TV screen is actual Darbar Sahib, the Kirtan ongoing. Yeah? So those are the 2 things that represented their life. In terms of them personally reading Gurbani or getting other saints to read it, but then also listen to the Darbar Sahib Kirtan every day at home on PTC, and then when they're in India, I'm going to start going to the Darbar Sahib all the time. So going back to the Pankti, Gursikh har bolo. So what do Gursikhs do? They speak about God. Har gavo, they sing about God. Le gurmat har japane. Taking on the Guru's teachings, they also teach us to meditate upon God. And they do that themselves as well. So this line encapsulates their life. This is what their life was about. So when Parchariks, who are Taksal affiliated, go on a stage and say, Babaji's whole life was about Sant Janal Singh being alive, and that was their whole Parchar. No, it wasn't. I will categorically say that. Their life was about this, Gurmat har japane. Because their life reflected that. Their life reflected getting people to take Amrit, people to do Naam Japana. That's what their whole life reflected. Not one gal, just because we want to make a political point about one thing, which it wasn't. Je updesh sune gur kera, so jaan paave har sukh kane. Jo updesh sune gur kera. So that person who listens to the teachings of the Guru, so jaan paave, what does that person obtain? That humble being who's following God's teachings, har sukh kane. They obtain, kane means a lot, yeah? So sukh is pleasure, or you could say peace. Yeah, so God then grants them many pleasures in their life. Now if we look on a Gurmat lens, the only sukh is sukh in Parameshwar, because that's the sukh that gives us all sukh. Yeah, but some of us, because we're worldly, we want a Mercedes. Yeah, we want Liverpool to win the league. Yeah, We want to go to Jatta's funeral, yeah? But all those things attach us to the world, don't attach us to God. So the Guru Sikhs are saying we want Sukh Gane, which come from God only. That's the source that we want to obtain. Now this was the pankti that I was looking for to look at Babaji's sort of birth. Tan so once, so these people who do these things, Tan so once, their lineage is great, their ancestry, yeah? Tan so pita, their father is great, Tan so mata, their mother is great, Jin Jana Jane, who's given birth to such a Guru Sikh. Now the Bibia in the room, if you're going to give birth to a child, will it be one of these children? Because if you haven't got the kamai, you're not going to give, you're going to make a sprog who's like you, yeah? In a crude term. But if you're a Chardi Kalali Gursik Bibi who does a lot of Naam Japana, then other than Twade Bachevi Gahone. So going back to the point of Babaji's birth, his parents must have been almost Brahmgyanis or Brahmgyanis to give birth to him. Yeah? So also, if a Brahmgyani is born in your call, you might get liberated for free. You might get a free pass, a free lottery ticket as well. I'm not going to go into that. Jin saas ke raaste aaya mera har har se sachi darge har jan bane. So the pankti that people usually use for a sant is Jina saas ke raasna visre har nama man mantan se se nanaka puran soi sant. But I don't need to use that because this shabd has already got this pankti in it, which is Jin saas is your breath, grass is eating. So it's very hard to do Naam Japna when you eat. You can do it with every breath. If you start doing with your swas, it's like a, you could say like a machine, you know, like a, what do you call it? Like a belt on a machine. It just carries on going around. So once you're doing swas simran, sometimes you just carry on doing it. You don't even realise that the swas are already doing simran all the time. But when you eat food, that's the hardest time to do it. So the Sahaba Santi Singh Radha Sahaba, they used to do 3 Japji Sahibs while they're eating the prashadda. Yeah? Now, Jin Saas Garastya Mera Har Har. So those Guru Sikhs who meditate on God 24/7 with every single breath. Se Sachi Darge Har Jan Bane. In God's court, in the true court, they're accepted. So that's the end pankti of that shabd. So I've used this photo here because we haven't got any photos of Babaji when they were younger. But they're reflecting here, obviously. So in the formative years, what we're told by their family members and whatever we've gathered over the years is that they were quiet and reflective as a child, who meditated and helped the family farming at home. So in 1944, so they're born in 1915, so they're about 29 at this point, yeah? Babaji learns of Sant Singh Khalsa Bhindranwale, that they exist, and they're a Guru Sikh, they're a Gurmukhi. So they go to Bhindra to have their darshan, and they end up taking Amrit and then join the Jatha. So that was the headquarters of the Taksal at the time, as a dera. So that's where the word Bhindranwale comes from as well, from Sant Singh's time. So Babaji joins the Jatha from that point on. After 1947, so the independence of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the family moved to Sadarwala near Mukku. So that's the current bend of the family. Babaji's family still reside there, and they've built a memorial Gurdwara and Vidyalaya there as well, in Babaji's name. So, at this point, when Babaji left home to go to see Sant Gurbachan Singh, what was their longing? What was their soch? So this shabd reflects that. So, state of mind and good karma. So your good karma from previous lives, if they blossom, you might meet someone like this, or you've all had good karma to have Guru Sahib. ठीक है? So Prabh mil beko preet man lagi. So Prabh milan di cha lagiya. So you've got this longing to meet God, and that love in you is in your mind. Yeah. Now there's a term that we call Teebar Bairaag. Teebar Bairaag means extreme detachment. The word Bairaag, Rag means love, Bair means without. So the English accurate translation for that me and Kamal Pradeep Apna Pradesi agree on is dispassion. That's the best word, but in English language you'll be like, what the hell's dispassion? Yeah? So extreme detachment or an extreme longing for God. ठीक है? So a complete dispassion for the world, so no interest in anything, food, drink, your family, your friends, anything at all. Yeah? So at this point, if you get to this point of Teebar Bairaag, you'll sacrifice anything and everything. And it's easy to sacrifice it for God. It doesn't matter if it's your mind, your home, your family, your friends, you'll relinquish it all. So Babaji did this when they went to Bhindra. They took Amrit and that's it. They never went back home ever again. Yeah? Now the question for us is meeting God hard or easy? And most Pracharaks off a stage will say it's hard. It's hard because it's hard for them. But for someone who's already met God, it's easy for them. So it's easy for those in love with God. It's hard for those like us in the room who love many things. So we've got a divided mind and a divided focus and attention not honed in just on Vaheguru. So that's our problem. Then we'll blame God, we'll blame society, we'll blame other people, we'll blame our mind. You point one finger, three pointing back. It's all on us. Yeah? So it's easy really, but we haven't got the love. Waking up at Amrit Vela is hard because you don't want to get up. If you want to get up, you'll get up because it's easy then. Because that's your date with God every day, to get up, to meet God, make love to Him at that point, at Amrit Vela, when in privacy. But it's easy then. Pai lago mohe kar benti, ko sant mile bad pagi. Yeah? So these are the bentiyan Babaji was doing because he knew, he'd heard of Sant Guru Singh's greatness and he was going there. Pai lago, I fall at their feet, mohe karo benti, I will do a benti to them. Ko sant mile bad pagi. Yeah? If I have good karma, I will meet a true saint. Now people who oppose the word saint, referring to a saint in Gurbani, will say this word saint here means Guru Sahib. It doesn't matter. Take it as Guru Sahib, take it as a sant, it doesn't really matter. But there's too many Pakhandi, so take it as Guru Sahib now. Yeah? So it doesn't really matter. You take it how you want. For Babaji, at this point, we would say it's Sant Guru Nanak because he actually hasn't even taken Amrit. Yeah? Man arpo tan rakho aage, man ki mat mohe sagal tyagi. What should he do, that person who's met this Sant or the Guru? Man arpo, surrender their mind. Tan rakho aage, surrender all their wealth. Man ki mat mohe sagal tyagi. And then also relinquish any thoughts of their own mind. So that is, whatever you're told you do without thinking, and you do it because that person you know is elevated and whatever they're doing for you is for your own benefit. Jo prabh ki har katha sunave, andin firo tis piche viragi. So that person who does katha of God and joins me with God through that katha, andin firo tis piche viragi. So the arth from Faridkot of different, so that's the thing that I use for the arth. So usually we would think that this andin firo tis piche viragi means we then go after that person who's a viragi, which is the sant that we're talking about. But actually Faridkot is saying, and then Firot this piche viragi, I will day and night go behind this person like a viragi. So I'm like a viragi who's renunciated the world, but I'm following that person. Purab karm ankar jab pragate petyo purkh rasak bairagi. So this is the pankti that people use when they do katha about sadhus and sants. That when you've got pure karma, which are going to blossom from previous lives, Purab karm ankar jab pragate. So when those karma become blossomed and fulfilled, what happens at that point? Petyo purkh rasak bairagi. You meet a purkh, a person, rasak, who is fully imbued in God's what we got, ligazya, that's what we used as a word, or ras means like the passion of God, let's say, bairagi, and a person who's fully detached from the world. So when we've got pure karma, so if you've followed a Baba who turned out to be a Pakhandi, that's because of your own karma, that you found a Pakhandi. Yeah? So it's down to our own karma. If you've got good karma from previous lives, which blossom, and then we follow that person now, that's a good thing. All the people around Sant Singh, they were all destined to be there. They didn't just turn up one day and go. Yeah? So there's people from the UK tried to go to join Sant Singh, and they weren't possible. It wasn't possible for them to do that. Different things happen, Anna. So if you've had Purabale karma, that happens. But for people like me who did meet these sants, it's a disdain of my life for not doing what they told me to do, or not getting to the states that they wanted me to get to. So it's a double whammy. It's not as simple as, oh, you were blessed to have their sangat, but if you haven't done it as well, then yeah. Then the result of all this, mityo andher milat har nanak janam janam ki soi jagi. Yeah, mityo andher, the darkness of ignorance disappears. Why does it disappear? Because you met God. Milat har nanak janam janam ki soi jagi. And all this this ignorance of all these lives that you've accumulated and got to this state of being confused, that's all abolished at that point. So we're going to go on from that. So that was the two shabs at the start. Now, what is the Damdami Taksal? I didn't want to use the photo of the logo, yeah, and there's so many IG accounts, yeah. Taksali things is the recent one that I found. I'm like, Ginne Taksal account, like it's like every week let's make a new one, yeah. Anyway, so there's 3 Gursikhs in this photo that I mentioned. The one with the roti in his mouth, he's still alive. We don't need to talk about him, yeah. But so Babaji at the start, at the front, Sant Singh at the back, at the left, and the guy standing behind Bhai Amrik Singh. That's Bhai Amrik Singh's brother, Bhai Manjeet Singh, who's alive, huh? So generationally, Baba Tak Singh was with Sant Gurbachan Singh, yeah. Bhai Amrik Singh is the son of Sant Kartar Singh, and Sant Singh was the Mukhi as well. Okay? So the Taksal, what it is a seminary, Sikh school, university. The Sikhi camp's just finished today. Some of you have been there. It's like living at a camp full time. That's what the Taksal is. Okay? Started by Sri Guru Gobind Singh and Damdami Sahib when the Sampurda Sri Guru Granth Sahib was done. Shaheed Bhai Mani Singh made Gyanis. So Gyanis are people who do Katha of Gurbani. Shaheed Baba Deep Singh made Bhattis. So they are the 2 Mukhis from Guru Gobind Singh's time. Continued from those times, known as Gyani the Sampradaya throughout history. More so than Damdami Taksal, which is a recent name, Anna. Those who question its lineage, so you have a lot of people making videos and whatever, it's been going on for the last 30, 40, 50 years even, yeah, who say, oh, the Taksal lineage is fake. Yeah, okay, let's accept the Taksal lineage is fake, and all these Sants and Brahmgyanis are all liars. Let's accept that, yeah. But then the Santya that Guru Gobind Singh gave at Damdami Sahib, has that been lost? Because if you accept that, then we don't know what we're reading in Gurbani. Because Guru Gobind Singh gave the Santya to the Gursikhs then, and then that lineage has continued that Santya. So then we have to admit that whatever was made up in the 1920s in terms of grammar of Punjabi being implemented into Guru Granth Sahib and trying to use that where Guru Granth Sahib is multiple languages, yeah? So we have to accept that's the only way forward because nothing else worked. And coincidentally, that's when this rumour started that the Taksal lineage is fake as well in those years, in the 1920s. But anyway, I'll just put that out there. Sevadar. So in this photo, you can see Sant Kartar Singh slightly facing this way, yeah? So that's the Gursikh there sitting down, yeah? With the prashad in his hand. Babaji is giving out langar there, yeah? So Babaji is doing langar di seva. So Babaji's life was all about being a sevadar. So Sant Gurbachan Singh, when Babaji joined the Jatha, the first thing they did is made them lead the langar seva. So they became in charge of the langar vartana, yeah? Did this for 2.5 years, after which Vadde Mahapurkh, so Sant Gurbachan Singh, what we referred to as Vadde Mahapurkh, allowed Babaji to reside within the Jatha on a formal permanent basis. So the 2.5 years that they were in charge of the langar was like an induction. Okay, now you can live here permanently, yeah? Nowadays, most people just stay a year in the Taksal if that. In the past, it used to be like minimum 7 years. Yeah, so like we've got Vidyalaya in India that we've done and stuff. And most people, as soon as they're done Guru Granth Sahib Santya, they're gone. We don't even see them again. We don't even know where they are. We book a Kantpat, so that's another place, and we realise it's Apana Singh who's doing the part or the Granthi there. We don't even know. Yeah, so because it's about money now, isn't it? They just want to get the Vidya and run and get a job. Whereas in the past, it was about your Kalyan as well. It wasn't just about the Vidya. He conducted 22 years of Garvei Seva. So a Garvei of a Mahapurkh is basically like their personal attendant. That person will be like the carer and their attendant all rolled into one. So the Garvei of the Mahapurkh wakes up before the Mahapurkh. So if it's cold, they might have to get the water out from a well. They might have to walk somewhere to get the water. They might have to heat it up, depending on the situation. They have to get all that stuff tiyar for their Ishnan. So Babaji all his life only did brush their teeth with a dattan. Yeah. So Mahapurkh, a lot of Mahapurkhs still do that. So you have to find the sticks, the twigs, whatever, you still do all that. Then the sabban, tail, everything else. So the Garvei has to get up before the Mahapurkh, get everything ready. And then the Mahapurkh will do the Ishnan. And they might even have to help with the Ishnan as well. So a Mahapurkh that I know, their Garvei at the time, he told me, he said, they'd said to me that if I have to tell you to do something, you failed in your seva. Because I ain't having you as a Garvei or a sevadar for me to think about you do this. And he told me this is a Mahapurush, he said to me, he said, when they wanted me to wash their hair, all they would do is just do that. And from that, I'd have to understand that put water in their hair. And he said, if they spoke, they'd say, get out of here, ja, bhaj. Yeah? So the Gurvei is put through a lot of barak all the time as well, shouting out things. And with another Mahapurush I was sitting with him, and the Gurvei was over there. And what they did, they threw a Mathai the Dabba from here, let's say, over there, and it hit the Gurvei's head. Yeah? And I looked at the Gurvei, and he was emptied up, I wasn't full. Yeah? Yeah? Threw the Dabba, and the Dabba hit his head, and the Gurvei felt something in his head. He didn't look up, because I looked across. I was like, what's going to happen now? Yeah. And they were laughing at the Mahapurush. They were just like, this is like every day, just messing around, see what he does. Threw the Dabba at him, and he just carried on doing his seva, hit his head, and he just carried on. I was like, done, yeah? I would have turned around and said, what are you doing, boy? Yeah? Anyway, so the Gurvei seva sleep after the Mahapurush as well. Yeah, so you've heard Sant Guru Singh talks by Jivan Singh on the channel and other things as well. Sant Guru Singh, what, 2 hours sleep, if that. Yeah, so the Gurvei is getting less than that. Plus he's got to be there standing all times of whatever it needs doing throughout the day. Wash their clothes, they have to cook their food as well. The Gurvei is the person who will cook their food. That's the only person allowed to make the food. This is the Taksal Maryada. The Taksal Mukhi, the Gurvei is the only person who will make the food. No one else can cook that food for them. Yeah. So when Sant Kartar Singh becomes the Mukhi of the Taksal, Babaji led the Seva of Langar again at Mehta, which was getting built at the time as well. And then they became to be known as the Ma of the Jatha, so the mother of the Jatha. So the Jatha, when I refer to the word Jatha, means the Taksal, as in the people living there physically. So anything anyone needed in the Jatha, they would go to Babaji. So this is from the years of 1969 up to 1984. Yeah? That they needed clothes, they needed kashere, they needed whatever, the why, they'd go to Babaji and Babaji would provide it. Yeah? So in the UK, when they came here, like, I remember the first few houses we went to, people were like, so they would book like, I don't know, Japani, whatever it may be, like the Taksalis don't drink tea in it, apart from me. But anyway, yeah, so they'd like book a Babaji to go to the house. Actually, I won't do that at this point. I'll just do this, which is written here. Yeah. So, only Babaji, this is Babaji doing the seva of Langar themselves, they'd only give one prashad at a time. Yeah. And the reason for that was, so when you're sitting in Pangat, yeah, they'd give you one prashad, they won't give you more than one. Because they want to come back and give you the second one. So it's harder for them. But then on the converse, for you as someone eating the roti that is in your hand is warm, and you eat that, and then you get another warm one in your hand. Yeah? So that's what they would do. They would never give out two prashad in the langar. I was eating prashad at someone's house, as the fat git that I am, yeah, first one to eat, yeah? And Babaji gave me a prashad. I'm eating the one, and I looked at him, I was like, why did he give me one? Yeah, so this is like me going through the experience. So I'm like, why did you give me one? I want two, yeah. I was like, chop karke khala brava, yeah. So, like the mind speaking, so I thought, shut up and eat. So I ate. When I'm about to finish the one, I'm like, I need another one now. And I literally finished, looked up, and Babaji standing there. Yeah, and I just put my hands out, and the second prashad was there. And then I realised that they gave me one because they wanted to give me the second one. But it was immediate. It wasn't like any seconds. I literally finished, looked up, and I went like that. I was like, sorted. Anyway, I said to Gurdwara, Wolverhampton, this was a few years into the tours and stuff, I was sitting at the back of the divan, like the naughty boys sit in the back and watch everything, watch what's going on, yeah? So we'd like sort of stay off a bit, So probably a couple of us sitting at the back, or two of us, because always like camera lights action at the front with whoever doing the katham, whatever. I was sitting at the back, and the divan finished, and they give the deg out, don't they? The smapti. And all I saw was all these bibbiya running to the front of the divan hall. So they're literally, the bibbiya from the back of the divan, because I'm sitting at the back on the men's side, the women are getting up and running to the front. I'm like, what's going on here? And I looked up, and Babaji was giving out the deg. So bibbiya like, so they're like, Babbe to sanu deg milne, prashad milna, So they all run into the front to get Babaji to give them the prasad, and but that was Babaji's doing, and that's all. Like they'll do Char Sahib di seva, they do Deg di seva, they do anything, kind. So Char Sahib at the Diwans, they'd just do for hours on end as well, even like if there's nothing going on. I remember we went to Guru Nanak Gurdwara Karma once. So from Delves Road, where they used to stay at Harjinder Singh Killer's house, we'd walk from the house to the Gurdwara. I remember we walked to the Gurdwara once. We got there, and there used to be Prana Bajurg. He used to come to the Gurdwara, and he'd wear trousers and whatever, and I think he used to dye his dari as well. He's like a normal person at the Gurdwara, so no one of any note. But he was sitting on Maharaj Dabbiya doing part. So he must have been like doing Saj part or something. He's like during the day, so like 10, 11 o'clock. So it's not like Smedic, not full on Diwan all the time. It was like mornings and evenings, but he was doing part, and his part was so bad, yeah. And we walked in, I heard his part, and I'm like, "Da kam gaya aaj, yeah." So he's doing the part, and he obviously sees all these sayings. This is like the Bhindranwale, innit, yeah. So all nangiyan lattan with chole and everything, karpanna, yeah. So we walk in, matha tek, we all do parkarma with Babaji. We sit down. Oh, bachara, he started shaking. Yeah, doing the part, and he just like said, "Fateh, like to stop." So this is not a part of the talk. Sorry, I'm going off the thing now. Yeah, but anyway, he and Babaji said to him, "Nahi part kari ja." Yeah, because obviously Babaji knew he's doing part, but jara ne nahi sant thalai, but bani to parda ya. Yeah, even if he's doing it wrong, whatever, we're not going to sit there and start giving him santhya, hana. But he kabra again. Babaji said, "No, carry on." So even then, in that situation, Babaji didn't stop him. He said, "Carry on reading." And then he just about gathered himself. I think he just needed like another shabd Ramalan still, but regardless, Anna. So when we used to go to houses, this is a bit I was going to back to earlier, but we're doing it at the right point now. The family would prepare like fresh breads for Babaji on a raised platform, on a chair, Mahapur Kanyana. Babaji would turn up and then just sit on the floor in front of it. Yeah? The person who would sit on that actually is the guy doing the part. No one else would usually sit on that. In very rare occasions, Babaji might agree, Hannah. So there's a video of my house where Babaji's sitting on the floor, and behind them, there's like you have a mattress protector. So there's a mattress protector I had on the floor, because I knew the system in it. So I thought, they're not going to sit on a sofa in my house. I know what they're like here. So I put the mattress protector there, thinking they'll sit on that. What they did is they sat in front of the mattress protector. I went up to them and said, like, get on there. And they just ignored me. I was like, all right, I ain't going to say it the second time. Yeah, so I'll just move back. The house we would visit, what we would do, we'd get the family to sit down and we'd feed them their food that they've prepared. So that was the protocol. Any house we went to, we'd get the family, say, all you get out of the kitchen, sit down, they'd all freak out, and then we'd say, we're saving you. In 9 times out of 10, we'd feed them their food and we'd leave. We wouldn't even eat. Yeah, that's what would happen. Unless it was actually a booked langar. Yeah, I can tell you Bubban's house story later. Yeah, after the talk. Yeah, because we worked out that me, Sukraj Singh and Baldeep Singh, during Babaji's times, we went to his house when he was a little 5-year-old running around with his brother. But anyway, Babaji would serve the sang of the langar as you've already heard, Anna. But would send the Singhs to the house first. So that's what happened at Bubban's house. Babaji said to us, you lot go. So this is in London. Babaji said, go to the house and you like langar. So we went, and then when we got there, we got a phone call saying Babaji's not coming. Yeah, so we still went inside, and some of us said, some of us didn't, but that's a different story. But anyway, I've already said this about sort of eating off the garvi, but Babaji's diet was very, very simple. So their staple diet was mungi masar di dal and prashade, and occasionally drinking some form of lemonade for their stomach. But that's it. That was literally their 2 meals a day was mungi masar. Back then we didn't have egg-free cakes. Yeah, so we all started making these dodgy sponge cakes. Yeah, and if we take the sponge to Babaji, Babaji would say, "Oh, double roti aiya." Yeah, because it's soft and it's easy for them to eat. They say, "Kaddo," and they put masala di dal on the cake and eat it. Yeah, so they would eat that as well, Hannah. Taksal Mahapurkhs on Babaji. So Sant Gurbachan Singh asked Baba Thakur Singh to go to Sachkhand with them when they were going to leave the earth. Yeah, but Babaji said, "I still want to do seva of the Singhs." Yeah, and then Sant Gurbachan Singh said, "Well, That's okay, but when you want to you come at your own volition, so you come out of choice. So from 1969 to 2004, Babaji chose to be here, to continue doing seva. Towards the end of their life, their health deteriorated a lot, and they weren't happy about getting Singhs to do their seva. So certain Singhs within the circle weren't allowed to do their seva in certain ways because their health deteriorated so much that they needed personal care in certain ways. Hannah, you can work that out. So they wouldn't allow a lot of us to even do that seva. The other Singhs would do that seva. Hannah. So they wanted to leave at that point in 2004 because their point was, and we saw some of this happening as well in front of us, and I don't want to go into it too much, but they were saying basically we can't do the seva anymore. Seva is happening of us, and we don't want that to happen, so we're going to go. Yeah? Sant Singh never refused any words of Babaji in the Jathadari. They jointly did Garvei Seva of Sant Gurbachan Singh as well. And they had said that if they pass away, or anything happens to them, then Babaji leads the Taksal. It's their Jumuwari, they can do what they want. Babaji then appointed Sant Janal Singh as the leader of the Taksal. Sant Kartar Singh didn't, Babaji did. ठीक है? Santji said, if you want to see God in person, then go meet Baba Thakur Singh. Yeah? This call him Rob, Torda Ferda Rab. ठीक है? Pre and post June 1984. So this is a very recent thing that I've learnt. So this is from the families, and the families came to me to verify some of this information on this slide. And we've sort of found around. So this isn't 100% confirmed, but 95% yes. Yeah, so if someone comes to me tomorrow, what's your source? Trust me, bro, yeah? Anyway. Shaheed Bhai Beyant Singh met Sant Janal Singh. This is 100%. So Narayan Singh Chora, who failed in shooting Badal. Yeah, you all know that one outside the Darbar Sahib, yeah? The guy who tried to do that, he's done an interview about 4 or 5 weeks ago. You can go on Sikh Siyas channel, watch that video. And in that video, he mentions this, so this is 100%. Yeah? Bhai Beyant Singh, when he became a bodyguard or when he joined the Indian police service or however he becomes a bodyguard for Indira Gandhi, yeah, in that post, he met Sant Janal Singh at some point prior to 1984. And Sant Janal Singh, so Narayan Singh Chora says this, yeah, in that interview, says, Sant Janal Singh said to him, Panth di seva vi kari jado kaum nu lod pave. Which means, if the Qaum ever needs for you to do seva for it, you better do it at that time. So this is prior to 1984. Yeah? So Narayan Singh Chora says that, yeah? So he's one of the bodyguards who assassinates Indira Gandhi, Beyant Singh is. Prior to assassinating her, the Taksal had appointed Jathadar Prem Singh with the duty to facilitate the assassination. Now Prem Singh's name doesn't come up apart from within the Taksal. The Taksal Singhs all knew he was supposed to facilitate it. And it's shrouded in mystery how he does it or he doesn't. He was a Santya Ustad. So what's come to the fore in the last few months with us, well, the last year to be precise, Shaheed Bhai Beyant Singh approached Taksal Singhs. Now the name I've been given is Shaheed Bhai Manbir Singh Chahiru. And Bhai Beyant Singh said, I can kill Indira Gandhi, but I want a guarantee from you guys that my family will be looked after. Yeah? So if that's Bhai Manbir Singh, if it's Jathadar Prem Singh, if it's there's another Singh, I can't remember his name, he was a captain of some sort, I can't remember his name gets mentioned, but they're all linked to the Taksal regardless, yeah? So the way the story goes is Bhai Manbir Singh Chahiru then comes to Baba Thakur Singh and says, Kam ho jana, but we need to look after his family. And Babaji says, we'll do it. We'll look after his family. Kill her. Yeah? So she does get assassinated, and then Babaji does look after Bhai Beyant Singh's family. So in 1999, the 3 children of Bhai Beyant Singh gave a press interview and said, the only person who helped us, not even our family helped us, was Baba Thakur Singh. Yeah? The son who's the MP now, he's messed up in some bayans, but then he's retracted recently because firstly he made a bayan saying no one ever helped us, and now he's admitting, yeah, Babaji did. Yeah? In June 1984, as the Indian government surrounded multiple Gurdwara across Punjab, the Taksal headquarters at Mehta was actually listed to get demolished as well and attacked by the army. So the army surrounded the Gurdwara, and there was a Sikh army officer tasked with doing this, but again, Sant Janal Singh had said to this guy, prior to 1984 when he met him, he said, don't ever do anything against Sikhi in your role as an army officer. So he's sitting outside Mehta thinking, I'm supposed to destroy the Gurdwara, the Santa da menu bachan hoya. So I'm not going to go into the detail of it. Basically, he negotiated a way in which he didn't have to touch the Gurdwara. He then got reprimanded by the army afterwards. Yeah? Babaji at this point had to go underground or incognito for 12 months from June 1984. So at this point, when this went down at Mehta, Babaji wasn't even there. So for 12 months, Babaji, to ensure their own survival and provide future leadership, went incognito. So what people need to realise is the oppression from the government was so much that even the Sarbat Khalsa Singhs in the UK, we only find out like 12 months later that they're still alive. Yeah? So the pressure was so much that no one knew. Babaji, what they did is they actually stayed at a number of families' houses and moved along like every 6 to 8 weeks, let's say. So after 1984, Babaji led the organising of the Sarbat Khalsa of January 1986. So the Sarbat Khalsa was a calling of the Qawm, which led to a revival of the Sikh freedom movement post 1984. And the Sarbat Khalsa appointed a Banta committee, which is a Panj Singh member committee, which would lead the Qawm and set the political agenda. And appointment of new Takht Jathadars in opposition to the Shromani Committee ones. So that's Keskar Sahib, Damdami Sahib, and Akal Takht Sahib. Babaji was seen as the mother of the Shaheed Parwars as well. So on the 28th of December 1985, this is prior to the Sarbat Khalsa of January 1986, they called a Shaheed Sammilan. And at that Sammilan, they honoured Shaheed Parwars. So at the Sarbat Khalsa, there's photos of Mata Harmeet Kaur and Mata Preetam Kaur, so the wives of Bhai Amrik Singh and Sant Samaj getting gold medals from Babaji off the stage. I've not included those in this, but you can find those photos. At this programme, Babaji was formally declared the acting Jathadar of the Taksal from the stage by Mohkam Singh, who's been the spokesman of the Taksal throughout Sant Kartar Singh, Sant Samaj Singh, Babaji's period. And then Baba Tumma sacked him after a year or two whenever he became the Jathadar. The Taksal then took up the role from this point on to support all Shaheed Parwars. Yeah? And the resolutions and appointments of the Sarbat Khalsa would have been started to get thrashed out from this date, from the 28th of December for the month leading up to the 26th. So, for example, Bhai Manveer Singh Chahir was supposed to be part of the Banta committee, but because there was too much opposition, Bhai Tanna Singh had to go in instead. Bhai Tanna Singh still alive, is in California, But so there was certain things that happened underneath that, with the resolutions and stuff. My insights into Shaheed family support by Babaji and the Taksal through some of this period, because I'm not that old. Yeah, I am old. But I went to Mehta once and saw Bibiyan standing around the room of the Jathadar Satbir Singh. So he used to be the Dera Jathadar at the time. And the Bibiyan were just like literally just standing around and wouldn't leave, like the front of his room. And I asked him, I said, who are these Bibiyan? And he said, they're from Shaheed families and they won't leave until we give them money. So they would just turn up and they know that they'll get paid or get some money. Now they're destitute, Bachariyan. So anyone who came would get something. Yeah, it didn't matter if it was the famous ones or the non-famous ones. Babaji only ever asked me for money once in the 7 years. And the one time they asked me, it was at Gyani Preetam Singh House in Southall. And they said it's for Shaheed Parwars. So that was the one time in 7 years they asked for money. Aj de ta sadhu nange karke rakh dende thanu sanu. Yeah, पैसे दो कार सेवा वाला बंदा भजदा घरों के गोलक भी रखने बाबा ने तो पता नहीं कितने पैसे ले जाने. Yeah. So the thing is, in 7 years, once, and that wasn't even for the Taksal or anything. Yeah. Babaji supported both families, known and unknown. That mostly ended in 2004 with Babaji going to Sachkhand. Yeah. So people of leading organisations would say, the Taksal did nothing about helping Shaheed Parwars. In 2004, when they started doing the work, all the Shaheed Parwars came out and said, Babaji was the one giving us money. We've got nothing now. Yeah? So it's like an abrupt end. Many Kharkus took advice and guidance from Babaji. Thus Babaji made it his mission to support their families in death. Like the Bhai Beyant Singh example, yeah? So this was like a backbone for the Qawm in different spheres. Now Babaji, because you lot don't know, I'm not very tall, but Babaji can't be more than 5'4" or 5'5". Yeah, and in frame very thin. Yeah. So when you saw them, you might think, who's this little old frail old man? Yeah. But what he represented and what he did, he fooled everyone. So everyone thought he's a cuddly fuddy-duddy Baba, and behind the scenes he's doing everything. But that's the beauty of it. So people say Sant did nothing. Sant Mahaprabhu did nothing for the Karkuwad and all this. I go to a lot of Sant Dere and they turn around and say, yeah, this Karku used to come and sleep in this room, this guy used to come and hide here after he killed this person. And you're like, these are the ones that everyone's swearing at, but they're the ones giving protection. Because that was the point. Swear at them, say they don't do anything. Yeah, we don't do nothing. We don't believe in that. We're non-violent. And then the people who are committing the violence are being hidden by them. It's a perfect system. Opposing the Shromani Committee and the Akali Dal, Badal Barnala et al. Yeah, so if you watch Dicky Gill, is that his name?
Ricky.
Huh?
Ricky Gill.
नहीं Dicky होता ना नहीं सच्ची मैं मुखाल नहीं करता मैं भी सोचा ना भी होता ही है तेरा भरावा yeah so KPS Gill's half brother yeah I think they got different mothers or something yeah so he did an interview KPS Gill's brother so KPS Gill's a notorious butcher of Punjab na? So his brother did an interview and in that interview if you watch it carefully what he's basically saying is Prakash Singh Badal's family and Badal they ensured the end of the movement to war against the Karkuwad yeah so I'm sitting in India as I do yeah I'm sitting here watching Dicky yeah, and I'm like bro you got the right name as well yeah Dicky but anyway so I watched this interview and I'm sitting in India they're watching my internet because in India if you don't use a VPN everything's tracked yeah your computer will tell you that let alone anything else but anyway so I watched Dicky Gill and then I start doing some internet searches as soon as I've watched the interview what turns up where does Dicky Gill's mother the mother of KPS Gill live she lives in Chandigarh who lives next door the Badals that's the actual address yeah you choose your neighbours don't you yeah so it's like we will protect you because you're the mother of KPS Gill as well. You know what I mean? It's like in cahoots, everything, and so Badal played a very duplicitous role in throughout all of the Sangharshana. Barnala was kicked out of the Qam at one point because he attacked Darbar Sahib as well, but it's an open secret that the Akalis had asked Indira Gandhi to attack Darbar Sahib in June 1984 because they could no longer control Sant Singh, and they were also scared because Indira Gandhi was saying, you know what, I might just exceed the demands and just give everything you're asking for. And they turned around and said, no, don't do that, because if you do that, then Sant Singh is the hero forever. Yeah? Now, I don't want to put in other names like Longowal into this accusation, because no one's ever said to me Longowal was part of that. Yeah? And the Teebar Khalsa Singhs that I know all speak very highly of Longowal until after 84. But to this point, so I'm not saying Longowal, but Badal and Barnala definitely. And there's some other names I could mention, but I don't want to because I don't want to make the alleged. I'll tell you off the record if you want. Anyway. But others could have us too as well. So there's even letters that exist around this. So the Sarbat Khalsa of 1986 declared this disbandment to the destruction of the Shromani Committee. So saying that we destroy the SGPC and we no longer believe in it and we're going to take over all the Gurdwara in Punjab and the management. This was never fully implemented. Yeah? And opposed by the government. Because the Akalis, they knew they were in cahoots with them to do the attack and they were the appeasement party. Yeah? So that ensured the Kharkus would not get control of all the Sikh institutes, which was the aim. So currently, there's moves to control the SGPC. That's why the election hasn't happened for so many years, for 10 years. Because when the election takes place, certain political parties want to take over the SGPC as an institute now as well. But that's all going on in Punjab. Anyone who's clued on knows that. I don't want to say it off the mic because I go India. Anyway. Babaji led all of this, Due to our collective failures, we have the mockery of the Akal Takht Jathedar appointments with Sukhbir Badal today. And Badal controls the SGPC house and thus controls Sikh polity by default. So if you see what's happened in the last few months with the Akal Takht, then things like that, that's going to continue, and it has continued for the last 20 years. So Babaji was close to Jathedar Ranjit Singh, who'd killed the Nirankari. So he didn't do anything without Babaji's salah throughout his Jathedari. But when he was taken off Jathedari, no one supported him. He's still doing Parchar in Punjab now. Theek. And he's the one who ties the Dastar and Tumma as well when he gets appointed. Ranjit Singh does. And Baba Sarbat Singh Bedi, who is the direct descendant of Guru Nanak. So Babaji set up an organisation called the Sant Samaj. The Sant Samaj, his purpose was again to oppose the Badals and the SGPC. So it's a collective of Sants. So on the internet, you put the Sant Samaj in and you say, you'll see people saying, oh, all these dodgy Babbe who never did anything for the Qawm, and they didn't do this year and didn't do that. And then when you look at actual groundwork, even today, the Sant Samaj has become factionalized because people left after Baba Tumba came the Jathadar. But the Sant Samaj at Diwali and Bandi Shor Divs, they will send to every jail in Punjab a Parcharak to do Parchar. Yeah? So the groundwork still continues. It was created to oppose the Bals in the SGPC election. So at that point, Galbir Singh Bira, who's an old Karkwana, but up India, he got appointed on an election with this sort of collective. So they've won some seats. And it's to create ideological representations for the Sikh nation where Sikhs disagree with the SGPC decrees or decisions. So Babaji was the chairman, I think. Yeah, and Baba Sarbat Singh Bindi was the president. Yeah. So the president is the direct descendant of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, bloodline. Baba Harnam Singh Tumma when he became the acting Jathadar of the Taksal. So Babaji called himself the acting Jathadar as well. After a few months or something, Baba Sarbat Singh Bindi left the Sant Samaj, and so did some other prominent Sants. So that got factionalized at that point as well. So one of the things was part of this political platform was to oppose the fixed dates calendar that the SGPC introduced and have recently rescinded as well. Rebuilding of the Sri Akal Takht Sahib. So these are photos from that seva. Yeah, so the top one, if you look at the back, that's actually the red wall where the staircase is, where you can still see bullet marks from the 84 attack today. Outside the Akal Takht Sahib on the right hand side, so right at the back you can see that. On the side of that you can see other buildings or other stuff. So what happened was, some of you might not know is, they grazed the whole of the perimeter of the Darbar Sahib complex. So in the past there used to be adjoining buildings and stuff, and some of the Singhs fought from here as well. Here, the one below, the photo below, at the back of that is Baba Gurbakh Singh's Shaheed Ganj. And just, I think it used to be before that, the coup used to be before that. There used to be a well there. So the well is now under the Akal Takht Sahib because they extended the building. Baba Gurbakh Singh's Bugla, they moved it further back. So the original spot, which is in this photo, I've seen it, was nearer. So the original Akal Takht Sahib prior to 84 was a lot smaller than the current one we've got. So the coup, the well, is still underneath. You can go down the stairs on the sides and you'll see it through glass windows. But that coup, they had a lot of armoury stored in there during the attack. So the Indian army didn't get to the back of the Akal Takht at any point until after the 7th of June. Theek. At the back they didn't have any access, so people could escape and other things. So Baba Santa Singh led the quick renovation of the Akal Takht in cooperation with the Indian government after 1984. If you look at the paperwork around there, skippers, builders were the ones actually doing the work. So even though Baba Santa Singh is sort of named as the person, but the contractors were actually skippers, builders from Delhi. They completed the work in about 6 weeks. Now it was a very rushed job. So a few weeks later, plaster was just falling off. Blocks were just falling off. So when people talk about the destruction afterwards and you lost the frescoes, our whole Qawm was dying. 200 Gurdwara got attacked in Delhi. You want to cry about frescoes? Tell us about who the people who got the revenge for all those deaths and all those Gurdwara. Yeah, frescoes don't mean nothing to us. Our Guru was burned in 200 Gurdwara in Delhi. And then the people who criticise Baba Santa Singh, if we've been in that position, you can criticise the person. But if you haven't, then don't. We're nobody, With the Sangharsh as well, you can say people did this, people did that. But unless you've been in the shoes and done that act and then come out right, you can't say nothing really. Yeah, so we should all remain humble because we haven't been in those positions of power. We don't know what will happen. We can't get up in the morning to do anything, let alone take up political lead. So Baba Santa Singh was excommunicated from the Qawm and was reinstated in 2001. That's what our history tells us. People who love Baba Santa Singh, they can believe their version of events. That's their prerogative. Anyway, Crime Pracharak. So this photo, again, is of 1999. So all the people in this photo, so to your right in the photo of Babaji, the guy, his half face cut off, is Nishan Singh. He lives in America at the moment. The guy behind him is Bhai Amrik Singh. He lives in California. Where does he live? Sacramento, I think. The guy behind Babaji, looking like this, is Bhai Sukhwinder Singh Sangha. He lives in Toronto at the moment. The guy on the right, we call him Doctor. I don't know what his name is. That's what we ever called him, yeah? He only came on one tour, I think, Babaji, but he lives... I met him in Seattle. So yeah, मैं कुत्ते आवांग फिरे यहाँ. But anyway, yeah. So Seattle is where he was last time I checked, innit? So what you've got is the Singhs around this period of where Babaji created Parchar. You go to Vancouver, you go to anywhere, major cities, there's people who've lived through that period, innit? So between the years of 1996 and 2004, there used to be at least 250 to 350 people living at Metta, getting Gurbani Santhe, learning Kirtan, learning Gatka, becoming Gyanis, becoming Pracharaks, doing Amrit Sanchars. So hundreds were made into famous Kirtanis, Kathawat, Santi Ustads, Amrit Sanchars, Jathas, Singh Sahibs, Granthis at Takhts and Gurdwara, Harjinder Sahib. This Parchar lives its legacy today with the seva that they continue throughout the world through the blessings of those times with Babaji. Yeah? Babaji did not do Parchar themselves, so all they do on a stage is say fatah, they wouldn't do no more than that, yeah? So Babaji used to speak very fast, and they were very selective of how they spoke, depending on the person. So I've had one-to-one conversations where Babaji spoken to me crystal clear. And then at other times, the only person in the room who could understand is the Gurmukhi, and he translates for you. Because Babaji just couldn't be bothered to waste their breath talking. Yeah? So, but what they did is they created many Kathawachs and Gyani Singhs. So when a Gyani would do Katha, if they made a mistake, Babaji would call him off the stage afterwards and tell him you said this wrong. Yeah? All the Gyanis would go and ask Babaji about how they should do certain prasang. There was a program, I can't say the venue now, there was a program somewhere in the UK, and there was a Mahapurkh there, and he did Katha off the stage. And the Katha that he did, I remember when we went home, Babaji was saying, he's doing missionary Parchar of that Pankti. That's not the Taksal Arth. He's doing wrong Arth. So Babaji knew everything, all the interpretations, everything. But they just chose to put other people at the front. And these same Kathavajaks who did Katha in those days around Babaji, the Katha that they did at that time in their Sangat was completely different and a completely different level to what they do now. So the Ras is completely different. But it's also because your headmaster's sitting there and you're going to get murdered afterwards as well. Yeah? Where are we? Daily living. What was their daily life like? 24/7 Gurbani. And when we say 24/7, we're not just saying it. So when you hear about how they would do, Main Gurbani Adar hai Gurbani lag raha hu. That's the Gurbani Pankti. So my support is Gurbani and I remain attached to Gurbani. So their Nitnem, Panj Bani in the morning, Panj Granthi, Sukhmani Sahib, Siddh Ghosh, Bhavna, Kri, Dakhni Onkar, Asa Divar, Shabd Jare. Then continuous Japji Sahibs, Sukhmani Sahibs throughout the day, Jope Sahibs. This is Katha of Sant Gurbachan saying, Kirtan from Darbar Sahib. And then if they go to sleep and are lying down, throughout the night, someone has to sit on their bedside and do Bhat all night. So throughout the day, the Gurmukhi would read Bani all day long. So, and at night, the jap wouldn't stop. So no point in 24 hours was Gurbani away from their ears. It was their choice if they were listening to the Asadivar, Darbar Sahib, or so generally every day they would listen to the full PTC live, let's say, they'd watch that. But outside of that, they'd just be continuous jap, non-stop. So if someone came to see them as well, it'd be very hard to get a word in sideways. So if they're doing Sukhmani Sahib, you'll have to wait for an Aspradi to end and try getting a word in. Now, I never read Gurbani to them on purpose. Yeah? Now, the reason being, on the first couple of tours that Babaji came, there was a bit of politics within the Singhs, of certain Singhs coming and things happening that they didn't want certain people to come. So on the first tour, I remember the Singh who came as the Gurmukhi, he literally would read Bani all day long, non-stop, from morning to evening, without a break. Yeah? So that might be like 16 hours job. And then at night, someone has to do the duty as well. But, so I cottoned on early on as well that if you sit on the Bani, you start reading Bhat, you might be there for 6 hours. Oh, we ain't doing that. Yeah? So I never read Bhat to them ever. The Singhs tried to get me to do it, but I knew, like, if I do it once, I'm stuck in that forever. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So I slid that little role, Because some people obviously will be like, Kosh, me Babaji no Bani. I'm like, bro, I'm going to read it wrong. Me the shittar khana, forget it. So why did they come to the UK so often? So me, Sukhraj Singh, Bhai Hardeep Singh went to India 1 year. We landed in Bombay and Babaji was there. So we spent a few days with Babaji there at Bombay. Then we went to Harjinder Sahib for 7 days. Came back to Bombay. Spent a few days with Babaji, came back. But when we were there, this was in just after September the 11th. So after September the 11th, that December we went. And when we were there, I realised that all day, every day, and at the Diwans, Babaji is like harassed by the Sangat. So how you see the videos of Sant Samaj from like 30 Singhs, we'd walk into the Diwans like that in Bombay. Yeah? And we'd have to do that because there's too many people and pushing and shoving. So we'd have to literally make a cavalcade around Babaji of human beings. But then during the day, from the morning to the evening, people would be knocking the door to speak to Babaji, to do Beintiyan. So I realised then that they don't get a minute's rest here. And they used to have, in India, they'd have like 5 Gurveis. And those 5 Gurveis would all get shattered in a day doing their seva. In the UK, they'd only have 2 officially that come with them, and sometimes it was only 1. But in India, those 5 young guys would all be shattered by the end of the day, because that's how much work they'd have to all do all day long and night. So they'd come to the UK to basically relax and chill out. And because Babaji wouldn't speak much and it'd be hard to get a word in, as they came, the numbers dwindled of the Sangat. So Babaji would send the Singhs to the Gurdwara, might not even go, and things like that. So then people like who were around them got more time personally with them as well. And so people come to talk to Amapur to get them to give them a bachan or whatever it may be to get their desires fulfilled. But Babaji is sitting there and you're sitting in the room and you're like, how do I get a word in now? They're doing Sukhna Sahib. So that sort of worked as a deterrent as well. So, but again, if you go back to the Pankti at the start, Pura Bakaram Ankar Jab Pragate, those people who were going to get their Sangat got it. Those who weren't. So after when they pass away, and there's a lot of people in our circles who now regret 20 years on that they didn't do their Sangat at the time when they had the opportunity. They didn't even do anything. They didn't even come around them. Yeah? I'm not going to lie, all my wishes were fulfilled. Anything I asked for, I got. There's no two ways about that. Whatever I asked, I got, Hannah. The first Barsi that was organised at Plek Gurdwara, I remember me and Hardeep Singh, we looked at the Sangat and we don't know 80% of these people. So for us it was shocking because we knew the circle of the Sangat and the normal families and stuff. So the first Barsi was a real shocker because you don't know whose life they influenced and whose life they changed. So we don't know that, do we? The people know that, whose lives have been changed, Anna. So from the Barsi as well, people just hearing about their life, people are inspired and take Amrit. So Gurbani Satkar in terms of Babaji, there's a section in the book as well, I was just summarised it here. The party sits higher than Babaji at all times because they're reading Bani. So like I said, at the houses, the party would sit on the setup for the Baba, basically, and read the part from there. Singhs were also sent on missions during Babaji's time to recover Maratha troops from bandit lands in India, in Bihar. Yeah? And those Singhs, when they came back with troops, literally you could just die in those places where they went, Anna. You might not come back alive, Anna. And when the first Jatha went to do it, when they came back with the troops, all the Singhs that met the Jakari and stuff, Anna. So that service continued to this day in many Satkar campaigns and missions to this day. So a lot of the people who are still carrying on, taking out people who do Biyad Biyan, yeah, they're linked to Babaji somehow as well, a lot of them, yeah. Gurbani is supreme. That's what Baba Thakur Singh's life teaches us, not any Sant Baba. Yeah? Now, us in the room and this series of talks, it's simple. Take your favourite Baba and say, I want to follow him. It doesn't matter because they're all dead. They can't corrupt you in death. No one can. Yeah? So it's perfect. The one I think Bhavan's messed off is Bhai Singh because he was actually in the UK as well. I think he needs to do that one sometime, yeah? But anyway, so imbue yourself in Gurbani like Babaji did. That is their major teaching, like I said at the start, Hannah. That's what their life reflected. So, in terms of their aura, when you would enter the room and just sit there, you would just get Shanti immediately. Because it's just Bani da Jap. And that aura of Gurbani all the time, that's all that would be there. You wouldn't have nothing else. Yeah? Live Sikhi, serve the Sangat and remain humble. That's the 3 things Babaji did, Hannah. They served the Sangat, they served the Singhs, their whole life they served the Shaheed Parawars, they served the Karkus, yeah, and then they served the Sangat as well, and they remained humble throughout all of that. They never made it out to put themselves on the front of anything, even though all the Sants in the Qawm would go to them for advice, and they would be the one making decisions on behalf of Jathebandiyan Sampradanya as well. And people that we call Brahmgyanis today I know of examples where Babaji's cascaded those people and burnt them down to the ground for things that they did as well while they're alive. Babaji's fame and glory, for me, it's really weird in the sense that in death they were glorified and he rocketed their glory in death. Because while they were alive, there was a lot of criticism in the press and other stuff, and even in the UK, and we used to say to people, you got a problem, come, the lion's sitting here in Warsaw, come speak to him face to face. You got no issue. You want to ask him. But they wouldn't. Yeah? You only value what you have when you lose it. When Babaji was alive, Taksal da Mahapurkh katha nahi karda, hon katha karda, koi bhega ho gaya, laha le liya. Yeah? People said a lot of stuff then about Babaji, and now everyone's like singing Babaji's glory, because whatever's followed in the last 20 years hasn't lived up to any of that legacy. Yeah? That's what our life was. God played in our hands. That's who we had, innit? My friends put their lives on the line who did serve Babaji, not me. I didn't have no money, innit? So they ran up debts, ran the loss of work and jobs to serve Babaji, innit? So in hospitals, the bills were thousands of pounds, and you're looking like, how are you going to pay this bill? And the bills got paid or got off or whatever happened, innit? So today, Babaji remains a support to those people as well. So a Mahapurkh who's actually a Brahmgyani never goes away. They continue to support their sevaks. That doesn't go away. So there's one saying in this presentation who gets darshan like literally every month and gets advice, innit? But that doesn't stop, innit? Damdami Taksal UK never existed formally or informally before 2004. And me and Hardeep saying stop that happening. They wanted to build a Gurdwara, they tried to build a Gurdwara now, it's still not happened. Yeah? Because we were saying the Parchar is already happening through the Santhya classes throughout the Gurdwara, so it's never formalised. And Damdami Taksal UK doesn't exist anyway. Because you can call whatever you want, you can say you're the Sengs of whoever, or Damdami Taksal Canada, there's only one Damdami Taksal, and that's who, if the Mahapurkh appoints you. If the Mahapurkh's not appointed you, so all your Taksal images, Taksal, this IG page, and Taksali hardcore, yeah, I don't know what's going to come out next year, but it's like, if the Taksal Mahapurkh hasn't given you delegated responsibility, who are you to speak on behalf of that organisation, innit? So this is a photo of Babaji at the airport, innit? So that's Nishan Singh, innit? I think that's our boy Killa at the back. Yeah, that's Gyani Pritam Singh actually, in the middle, which you can't see, GPS. So Babaji's strategic plan, Santji is the leader of the Taksal, no one else. That's up to you if you believe Sant Shaheed, he might come back in another body, he might come back in the same body, but Babaji's bachan was Sant is the leader of the Taksal, nobody else. He didn't appoint Baba Tumma, he didn't appoint Ram Singh, he didn't appoint anyone. That's a simple fact. Yeah? I'm not going to go into other bachans that we had prior to them passing away as well. They gave us future stuff, Hannah. And many of us have been given future seva as well, in the future, to do, Hannah. Many given missions to do as well, so there's no lying about that, Hannah. Damdamitaksal.com was founded by Babaji, Hannah. I was given the seva, which I failed on miserably. I'm not going to deny that, Hannah. It's changed hands and stuff, and it's come back to me now, so I just officially just sort of supervise. Still don't do hardly any work. Babaji approved English translations of the Death and other things which went onto the website. Approved the writing of Game of Love, the first book that I wrote, because Babaji wanted us to write about the Shaheed Singhs and their Jeevani Ahana. So in effect, they founded our publishers, because our publications, the first two is the Death and Game of Love, Ahana. So that came through Babaji, Ahana. So snippets. So one of my friends, because he was close to Babaji, and you could do these things if you were close, started pestering Babaji, give me darshan of Sant Singh, give me darshan of Sant Singh, like a little kid, give me darshan, give me darshan, give me darshan, give me darshan, give me darshan. Yeah? A few days, kept doing that. Sant Singh gave me darshan in a dream and said, wake up every day, 4 a.m, Amrit Villa, and then when I come back, you'll be with me then. Yeah? Wakes up. So he's around Babaji because he's been pestering him for a few days, you know? Wakes up in the morning. Babaji goes, Kidan? Yeah? How are you? And he was depressed because he ain't a Amritwala boy. He's like, damn, I've been done, double, yeah? Yeah? So he's like, I've been done because I want be with something else. But then I'll be like, I've got the budget now, 4 a.m., fine doing 4 a.m., I'm done. And Babaji's like smirking at him, Lelia. Yeah? So that's that. And another thing I know, he asked for experience of non-stop naam, yeah, non-stop, 24/7, WhyGuru Guru Mantra. He got it for 7 days, it wasn't me, yeah. 7 days, non-stop, I was around him when it was happening and he was doing strange stuff. Afterwards I found out, But the thing is, 7 days, literally, his Guru Mantra didn't stop. When he's sleeping, when he's waking and everything. He asked Babaji for that and then that happened, At one point, my brother committed suicide, so Babaji was staying here at Bibi Manjeet Kaur's house. Padda? Is it Padda? Fullani Seva, Auntie, Sadi. Yeah? So Babaji was at their house, and my brother had committed suicide, and so this was the first visit Babaji came to the UK after he'd committed suicide, and I was a bit depressed, had what we call is Gada Bairaag, which is donkey Bairaag, yeah? Which is like you have Bairaag for a bit and then it goes away, yeah? So it's not that Teebar Bairaag. So I was a bit depressed, oh, he's died, whatever. Yeah, Rab nu mil liya, main ithe dukhi hona duniya ch, yeah. So Babaji came to the house. I went there. Babaji's sitting in the camera on the floor, and there's sangat around him. I went and said for it, and I went and sat at the back. Then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, so Babaji, I want Brahm Gyan. This is my thought process sitting in the room. I'm sitting there saying, Babaji, I want Brahm Gyan. You got to give me Brahm Gyan. I've had enough of this life, yeah. Give me Brahm Gyan. So I'm there sitting there doing this. Then I'm like, well, what do I do? Yeah? So what was the pankti at the start, Tan rakho aage. Yeah? Man rakho, tan rakho aage, Yeah? Mohe karo benti. Ko sant milave vadbhagi, yeah? So I'm doing all this in my mind. Yeah? So I'm like, alright, bro, what do you do? Get out that wallet. How much cash we got? Pull it all out. Whatever's in the wallet, bang it there in front of Babaji, yeah? So I'm there. Sat for about 10-15 minutes. I'm doing all these beinti in my brain, yeah? Then I'm like, alright, let's try it. Yeah? So I go up to Babaji, drop the cash. Yeah? Babaji looked at me and they just laughed. And I'm there and I can't say it from my mouth. I can't actually say it from my mouth. I can't do it. Yeah? I can't actually say the words. Now, like I said, anything I asked for, I got, but I couldn't do it. And so I couldn't get it. And they were laughing because they're like, you going? I'm like, yeah. And because they know what I've been thinking for the last 10-15 minutes, but I just can't do it. I can't say it, So I couldn't spit it out. So that was that, Some money was there, wasted that as well, I just walked out the house with Babaji laughing at me, Yeah. So the other side of Babaji, no one could bully, cajole, or convince Babaji into anything. So Gyani Gurdev Singh, the one who does Kirtan for the AKJ a lot now, from Australia, small man, yeah. When Babaji went to Australia, so Gyani Gurdev Singh's also a student of the Taksal during Sant Singh's times, so, and his Katha's better than his Kirtan, but he just started making more money after Kirtan, so he's stuck to that now, yeah. But initially when he came to the UK the first time, he actually came as a Kathavachik. So I've heard his Katha and he's stayed at my house. We've done Amrit and Jars with him and stuff as well, back then. But anyway, so Gyani Gurdev Singh was the one sort of at one point in Australia looking after Babaji when they went there, and he mentions an experience where someone questioned कि 8 साल मुखी इन्ना छोटा कद and all this, so that guy thought that, and then the next day when that guy would see Babaji, he'd see Babaji like into the sky, into the ceiling and everything. So every time this guy saw Babaji, he just like saw this, and then he came and done a beinti and Babaji just laughed at him and said like, what's wrong with you? Are you like feeling okay? Yeah? And then it stopped, So that's not to say Babaji did that, but that's the Shakti of God to protect his sevaks, to say like, what are you messing with? You don't even know what the power is, So we'll do this afterwards actually. So no one could bully, cajole or convince Babaji into anything. Not the government, not any organisation, not any Sikh, completely independent. So there's a book by an Indian intelligence officer called Open Secrets, yeah? And in that book, the intelligence officer says he had to go and meet Baba Thakur Singh and ask them something. And he actually says in that book that even these Kharkos, he had roots in how to influence them or who to speak to. But when he came to Babaji, it's literally, it's Russian roulette. You go in the room and you say, and you see what happens. You got no influence there. No one can do anything. Yeah? So they're leaving, so this is their body on the day of their funeral. Yeah? So they came to the UK. They told one of the Singhs they're going to die when they get there. They told him where they're going to fall ill. And they told him we're never going to meet again. Yeah, but he didn't listen. ਉਹਦੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਭਾਗ ਗਿਆ. So everything Baba Ji told him happened. ठीक है. So prior to this, prior to 2004, so when Baba Ji went, we were all confused of what was going to happen. So we don't had bachan, but we were like, it just looks like Santa Claus coming and the war's going to kick off, and what we're going to do, catch planes last minute, just start fighting. That was the sort of, because the words we were getting from Baba Ji and the inklings was that, but really it was them leaving, which we were confused of what it was going to really turn into be. So before that, I don't know if it was a year or 2 years before, Anna, Baba Ji had been really ill in Leeds at the hospital, and there was a Singh on night duty from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m, 12 hours doing jump to save on the side of the bed, Anna. And Baba Ji got up in the middle of the night, so they're like hooked up with wires and stuff like that at this point, Anna. And they got up and they said, we're going to die. And he was like, what do I do now? So he's doing jump save. Baba Ji's telling him we're going to die. As he on street shouted, that's actual words, Anna. And then Baba Ji lied back down, and then he's like, what the hell? 7 a.m. when his duty finishes, yeah? He rings me, I don't know, 7:15, 7:30, Anna. And he says to me, he said, this happened? And I said, are they still alive? He goes, yeah. I said, so from this point on, we can't really do any benti to Baba Ji, Anna. So there was 3 of us in the UK that knew at that time, Anna. So him, another guy and me, Anna, he told me, because he needed to ring someone for advice, Anna. From that point on, so we decided, the 3 of us, that we're not going to do any more benti, Anna, or ask anything, because we knew they wanted to leave, Anna. So I said to him, just be grateful you're out of that position, because if they died while he was on duty, it's like free for all, and you're the one who was there. Why couldn't you save him? You know, there's a lot of things that could go on, Anna. So this is about, I don't know, the time scales, Anna, because it's so long ago now, Anna. I don't know, a year, 18 months, 2 years before, Anna. And then I had one last itcha, so I had one last request, which was, Baba Ji, put your hand on my head. As a dying thing, that's what I want. One more time, put your hand on my head. I don't want anything else. That's the only thing I want, Anna. So if we go back to this, so this is like sort of them arriving at the airport. What would happen is all the Pantak leaders and all the Jathadars and fake Jathadars would all run to the front to say Fateh to Baba Ji, Anna. So ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਗਰੀਬ ਗੁੱਦੇ, we just stay at the back. So Baba Ji's still going to walk out in there. Fateh ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਬੁਲਾਈ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੀ ਆ. It's not like we're the first mans to the door, Anna. It doesn't make a difference. So I just stood off. And so when they're walking out, so they would have had, similar to this, they would have had a heart around them and stuff like that, Hannah. So they were walking through, and I went up and said, Fateh, like that, and they put their hand on my head. So my last dying wish they gave, Hannah, as well. So in terms of what happened from that point on, Hannah, Baba Ji didn't let me do their massage, Hannah, for a long time. There's a reason for that, but I don't want to get into that, Hannah. But just before they left London, from Sarbat Singh's house, they asked me to do their malish. So when you would do Baba Ji's body malish, we'd use almond oil, and literally their skin was so coarse that the almond oil would just all get absorbed. So like we were no massage experts at all in any shape or form, yeah, but we just put the oil on, the oil would just disappear because they're so active, so the oil would just disappear. So they asked me to do that, Now they knew, they were asking me to do it because they knew I'm never going to see them again. I know it's not going to happen again. I'm never going to get the opportunity. So we did their feet and everything. Like, you're doing it, yeah. And the day that they actually from Kakkar Hospital in Amritsar, they actually tell the Gurwe we're going to go Sachkhand. Now the Gurwe assumed they're talking about going to Darbar Sahib because they'd go to Darbar Sahib, it's called Sachkhand as well, So they actually told the Gurwe, they Prashad, they said we're going to Sachkhand, and then they went. Now, because about 25 of us got emergency flights, to India. So during the night, I got a phone call telling me they passed away, and I didn't realise what the person said to me. I thought they were saying they're ill, So I phoned my Masi in India. She was there. She's from the UK, and I phoned her. I said, go and do Ardas. Baba Ji's ill, She went into the Darbar Sahib, and the Shabd the Rangis were singing was Jyoti Jyot Lali. Sampuran Thiya Ramana. So she walked in, so she's like, they've gone. So what happened with me was they'd actually passed away at that point. They were actually not here. And then my mate rang me back. Yeah. So I started doing part because I got confused. And he rang me back. And that's when I realised they passed away. And I got in the car to go and make some phone calls, dodgy phone calls from some phone booths and whatever. And I go meet some people at houses and in person, deliver the message as well. So I had to do all that as well. And then when we got there were like 25 of us on this Turkmenistan flight to Amritsar. We got to the funeral. People in India didn't get to the funeral because literally one day later they did the sanskar. So Sangat the Bombay couldn't physically get there, even if they drove a car. They couldn't get flights because the flights weren't that prevalent then to Amritsar and stuff. So wo bechare reh gaye. So Sangat of India didn't get there. We got there from the UK, and it was shocking, like who didn't go as well on the flight. There was a lot of saints from the UK who just refused to go, But so we arrived at the funeral, myself and Bhai Hardeep Singh and a lot of other people, But the two of us, we did all the seva, the sanskar, carrying the manja, doing the ishnan, dressing and prepping the pyre and stuff as well. We did everything, because we knew all the Gurmukhi, so we were in the inside circle, Our names were announced off the stage. Bhai Isha Singh, Zadsanal Singh's son tried to get us involved in the next appointment, whatever. We ignored all of that, Now there was nowhere to sit. When the sanskar happened, there was literally people standing on ledges of the Gurdwara. Yeah, it was like ants. When you looked up from the bottom, like when we looked around, like it was just ridiculous, I nearly caught fire because I was that close to the pyre, They had to move me back because the heat was so much, My face started going red, basically, When the pyre was lit, the screams that came, because for us, Babaji's sareer hadn't changed. He hadn't deteriorated. He was still soft as ever. Their face looked like they were going to get up. So it's like, when the pyre's lit, it was the realization that they're actually not going to get up. Yeah? So if you think at this point when that pyre's lit, all those Shaheed Parwars, all those Singhs, all those people, for them, that one person who's at the end of a line or a phone, who's God, who can do anything for you. So my brother committed suicide at one point. He ran away from home. And what I did is I phoned Babaji, and the Gurmukhi sort of skanked me, because the Gurmukhi got scared, because partly it's because it's me as well. Like, he's like, I ain't doing the butcher. You speak to Babaji. And I remember Babaji said to me on the phone, Ajana, and I said to the Singh, like, what's going on? He goes, Babaji said he's going to come home. They cut the line. I'm there sitting, what's going on? The phone rang. As soon as the line got cut, the phone rang. It's my brother, I'm coming home. There and then, yeah. So it's like, that's a living example, and it's not like, you know what I mean? But anyway, so the screams just erupted at that point, and that was the realization, and within the Sangat there as well. And like even Benji, Satwant Kaur, she says that we didn't feel 84 until Babaji passes away, because Babaji didn't allow them to feel that suffering, but at this point that happens for them. So it's a cavity in our lives, a generational figure. So you got to see in terms of the Taksal, Sant Gurbachan Singh, Sant Kartar Singh, Sant Janal Singh. This guy lived through all these Jathadaris, and then they didn't call themselves a Jathadar, acting Jathadar in the absence of Sant Janal Singh for 20 years. Yeah? We've had 20 years now. What's the charity of the people leading the Taksal now? I'm not criticising Baba Tumma, but the reality is what the reality we all see. Yeah? Baba Tumma came on the first tour. We called him Babaji. Yeah? So he had a lot of Satkar. There's no denying that. Yeah? Ram Singh used to be head Granthi, Darbar Sahib, whatever. So they've all got Satkar for what they've done, but when you get in the position, it's a different thing. Thanks for listening. Sorry for any mistakes or inaccuracies. Sorry to the Baba Tumma supporters if you've been offended by anything I've said. Yeah? I just speak my mind. Bol Jug Dikhema. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa. Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.